I don't even have an NLT in here.
All right. I got it right here.
In ASB, I have a ESV, 2 ESVs, but no NLT. Not that I dislike it. I just don't read it.
What was your initial thought whenever I sent you that picture out of the blue this week?
Big cross. That was my first thought.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it did not surprise me. I was unsurprised that you had a 14-foot tall cross in your front yard now.
Yes.
My HOA probably wouldn't allow that.
Probably not. I mean, yeah, we get into that too. But yeah, so me and JC in our yard, it was her idea. I just went along with it, but I thought it was a really great idea. A few months back, she came to me and pitched me an idea of putting a very large cross in our yard, and just putting it in there for people to know what we're about. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then I just had like a prompting that I should do it. And so the picture really doesn't do it justice, like by itself. If you just take a picture next to my house, when it's someone standing next to it in that picture, it makes it look.
Well, the picture, and it'll be either the thumbnail or I'll put it in the video. But I got the height off of you standing next to it because I was like, you're what, 5'10"?
I wish. 5'8.5".
5'8.5".
Yeah,
okay,
no, almost 5'9".
So 5'8", and the cross, you're like well under the crossbar on the cross. I was like, that's a tall cross.
It's huge, yeah, and it's taller than I originally planned it to be. I planned it to be, I think, 12 feet tall. We couldn't put it in the ground anymore. We only got 3 feet down and 16-foot pole, so it's 13 feet tall at the highest peak of it, and then 7 foot wide. And it's a 6x6 post.
I think it's cool. I think anything like that we can just do to show our faith, I think is good. Yeah. I think times and seasons are different too. There was a season where like I didn't wear any Jesus t-shirts. There's a whole podcast episode titled "Why I Don't Wear Jesus t-shirts." That's changed for me. I think I'm in a new season of life and of time where I don't consciously think about, I got to wear my Jesus t-shirt today, but like I don't think about not wearing them anymore. I think it's we're at a weird point in history, if you will, where being able to share our faith boldly is something I think we're starting to see it become something that's vilified around the world and in America in some instances, and so now's the time to probably stake our claim on what we believe. Not that I think it's going to become illegal tomorrow, but you don't know. We have this opportunity now, and you are in a cool spot a lot of people drive by your house too.
Oh yeah, it's busy, right?
Yeah, so you've got like this monument of depicting at least the what people would recognize as the connector to our faith. Whether we could get into the argument of like, is the cross a good depiction of our faith or not, or whatever. That's a whole nother conversation, but that's what most people think about when they see a cross. And so I think it's really cool that y'all have it.
Yeah. It was for me when I was first putting it up. I feel like when I was building it, because I just bought the wood and then just stuck it together with giant poles or giant bolts, but it is a torture device.
Isn't that insane?
It's pretty crazy. It's like the thing that points people to Christianity, and the biggest symbol I think you could have Christianity is a Roman torture device. And as I was building it, it really hit me, like as I was making it and putting it together, how it was very, very, I don't know, kind of visceral for me to when I was putting it together, like how brutal
it would have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you don't really realize that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But it really struck out to me whenever I was making it and like putting it together, like being put on that cross, just being nailed to that thing and how heavy it was. I know I probably built one that's a lot bigger than I don't know.
I don't know their exact. Yeah.
But
probably depending on what part of the world you're in.
But that one, I don't know if you could carry yourself, even if you weren't brutally whipped and beat and all that stuff that happened to him before he got was forced to carry it. That thing was heavy. It's it's heavy. It's probably a couple 100 pounds, I would think. But yeah, we had to get a tractor to be able to stand it up to put it.
That's actually really interesting. You know, the just the act of you building it, though, you had this like connection to this thing that is so important in human history that it almost brought like a real life connection to this thing. And I think that's why I think the Passion of the Christ was so impactful for so many people, because we read this story in the Bible, but to see it on display, you'll talk to people who are like new to the faith, and they will have been like, you know, I read the gospel again and I cried. It was like, well, yeah, you didn't know that person that's going through this before. You do now. And so you have this deeper emotional connection to the end of Jesus's life than you did before, when you didn't really know him. It was just like some guy, you know. Right. But now it's a friend, a parent, a guardian. It's this person who means so much to you, and you're watching them die or reading about them dying in such a horrific way.
Yeah, it's brutal. And
which it was just Easter, so this is also pretty fresh on our minds. I think.
Yes, and the one of the reasons I wanted to put it up on Easter Sunday. The rain on Saturday kind of slowed us down to be able to put it up, but I was like, man, if I can get this up on Easter. But I got it up the day after Easter, so I was happy about that. It was pretty cool that it was able to get it in the ground that weekend ish. So I was happy about that.
I mean, the redemptive work didn't stop on.
Yes,
on Sunday.
And I was talking about Sunday days, like yes, it's important to talk about Easter, but that's every day. Like for us as Christians, Jesus has risen every single day, and he died for us every single day. So it's
you just said too, it was like super heavy. And, you know, you think about Jesus's words where he said, "Take up your cross daily and follow me," and it's like that's heavy,
heavy to do.
Yeah, like he doesn't even. Jesus says things, and you know, the hippie Jesus that we want to kind of put him in the box as doesn't cover the things he says a lot of times. Like a lot of what he's called us to do is pretty brutal, and it is pretty uncomfortable for us, and that's something we have to wrestle with, I think, in modern Christianity, because it becomes so easy for us to be Christians. You know, it's like, I go to church on Sunday, we sing fun songs, and I raised my hand when I was 12, and that was the end for me. And it's like, no, that's not what he says at all. That's the beginning. He's like, no, the rest of this is hard. No. And you have to give up things and give up people and deny your life, essentially, and come follow me.
Yeah, the pride aspect of it, for sure. And when Jesus is one of his very first ministry, when he was starting building his ministry after he turned 30, he had that realization. He told people, like, you need to be able to eat of my flesh and drink of my blood. And that was a tough thing for people to hear. A lot of people left, and I feel like some people might not realize that if you're not reading the gospel. But like after he said that, a lot of people just abandoned him because they were like, this is. I don't know about this. I don't think I can get on board with this. And so, like, you're talking about like brutalness and the realness of it. It's not easy, and it's actually kind of like very visceral to understand about what actually happened on that day on the cross. So
yeah, we actually just walked out of a Bible study with a group of men where we were talking about the aroma of Christ, and you know, I think it's interesting. Last week we talked about ambassador. This week we talked about aroma. We don't really have an issue with like putting our favorite sports team out on the front yard or flying an American flag. I don't think either of those things are inherently wrong. We don't have an issue doing those, but you know, I know for a fact, because I know where everybody at the church lives pretty much, because that's my job. Not for any weird way. Just
I know where you live. We're coming for you.
I just know because you gave us your address at some point. But like on my street here, there's a bunch of families that go to our church. But if you drove down the street, even including my house, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like there's no signature that says like, oh, this house is a believing house. Like, and I don't know. I don't know if it's something. I think if it's something you want to do, it's cool, and I respect it. But if it's something you don't want to do, I also get it.
Yeah, for a second I was kind of nervous. I'm not gonna say I was like super bold about putting it up and like not scared about the repercussions, because the back of my mind I was kind of thinking like somebody might be offended by this, but in my head I'm like, I hope somebody's offended. Not that I'm hoping for that, but I don't know. There's going to be a record of your life. So this is kind of, I'm going back. I'm getting kind of, I don't know if I'm getting theological here, I don't know. There's going to be a record of your life. Every day in your life is written in a book in heaven. And so you're going to be judged for the things that you do. And there's going to be a footnote. It's like if someone does or is offended by the cross that's in my yard, there's going to be a footnote that says this person was offended by the cross that I put in my yard. And I want that to be like, okay, that's good. That's awesome. I'm glad I put something up that put somebody was living their life and they kind of stumbled upon it. Like, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jesus. And they're like, saw that cross in my yard and they have a second thought about it maybe. Or maybe they, it's kind of weird. It's going to be weird. I'm going to say something that's going to be kind of weird.
Sure.
We're on the pod. It's all right, right? I was kind of hoping that maybe somebody would like not sue me because I don't want that to happen at all, but like there'd be a court, some sort of something in the court that says Luke had a giant cross in his yard and I was offended by it because those are for not forever, because nothing is forever except for God and for love and for Jesus, but that would be in the court system somewhere to say this guy stood for something, and I don't want to get sued for that. I don't want that to happen at all. But if it happens, I think I'd be all right with it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, to say on the internet, but whatever.
Yeah. They don't know your address, so I do.
Zach's gonna sue me now. Crossing my yard.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's true. But I think it feeds right into that kind of conversation we've been having the last few weeks about being an ambassador or having the aroma, because you're visibly showing who you are on the inside. Like you are this person, and that person is being displayed. You're not hiding it behind the walls of your house, or anything like that. You're actually sharing with the world, like, this is what I believe. I believe it enough that I'm going to, one, take the time and the money to build this thing, but two, I'm going to put it in the yard in front of the house so everybody knows, which I think is really cool. Yeah,
I was having a Bible study. I was having my normal Bible study, and I was praying to God, and God was like, your kids are supposed to follow and do what you tell them to do. And of course, that same day, my kids were acting a fool, and I just kept getting mad at them. I'm like, if I tell you to do something, you need to do it. And then the words just kind of like rattle in my brain. God was like, I told you to put that cross in your yard, and you didn't do it. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to do it. Like, and I kept telling them, like, I don't need to tell you a second time to do something. If I tell you to do it, you're getting a butt whooping if the second time I tell you to do it. And that also just rattled around in my brain. The guy was like, I told you to do this, and I've given you a weekend or 2 weekends, 3 weekends. You haven't done it yet. And I was like, just feeling like, okay, all right.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm doing it. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm gonna clean my room. I'm gonna go to bed. Whatever you tell me to do. Like, that's my kids' brains. Like, just do what I tell you to do. So yeah, we're the same way to God.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's very good. You had a verse you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, not really. I do want to talk about a single verse, but there also is a passage that I was wanting to talk about today. And if you haven't read the book of John, I suggest you read it first off.
Yeah, first and foremost.
But also read chapter 9. And if you ever just in your life and you're like, I know enough about the Bible, and I don't know how to tell people about Jesus, and I don't know how to tell other people about Christianity, reading chapter 9 of John really opened my eyes to being okay with that. And I know you should read the Bible, you should study, you should have that defense for the faith that you have in you. But if you read chapter 9, it kind of gives you a, like, okay, I can do it without having to know everything. And I feel like there's a lot of guys out there. We've definitely talked to multiple men at church. And if it's multiple men's, lots of guys at church who also believe that same thing. Like, I'm scared to share my testimony, or scared to tell other people about Jesus because I don't know enough. And this chapter really opened my eyes to saying, that's okay.
I think it's the number one fear we come across.
Yeah.
I don't know enough. When it comes, they're not really scared about like physical altercations or anything. They're scared of an intellectual sparring match, which I think that something that's really been, bugging me, and something we talked about this morning even a little bit, is I don't know if we necessarily need to be able to get into intellectual sparring matches.
No.
I probably would have said a couple of years ago, like, yeah, we need to know all the defenses for all the things. And I don't think it's bad. I mean, Paul even says, be prepared to give a defense for the hope that you have within you. So do we need to have some kind of, stance on certain things? Yeah, of course we do. But I think I believe that if we stand on what we believe in, and we just profess that and propel that, which is what happens in this chapter, in chapter 9, for the blind man, you just own it. And it's just who we are. It's the cross in your front yard. It's you are the ambassador for Christ. Like, the ambassador doesn't have to come in and defend to the foreign land why their president wants to do something, this, that, or the other. They just have to tell them what the president said, like, and represent it in an appropriate way. I think really at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for. And so when you think about it that way, not to mention that Jesus says that no one comes to the Father unless he who calls him, draws him in. I just butchered that, so it's in John. Look it up.
I was gonna what verse is the defend your hope? I was gonna look that up real quick. I think it's in Peter, First Peter. I think be prepared to
I don't think it's in Peter.
No. Oh man, no, we're getting. We didn't come prepared.
Well, I didn't plan to talk about that one.
I didn't either. But as you're looking that up, that verse, I think it kind of goes to the point that what we're talking today is be prepared to defend the hope.
No, it is 1 Peter 3:15.
Hey, look at me.
So it wasn't Paul, it was Peter.
What was for
3:15?
Do you want to read it? You want me to read it?
I can read it. Keep talking.
What the verse to me, before we read it, it's saying defend the hope that you have in you. It doesn't say you need to be able to know the Bible and defend everything that's in the Bible. It says be prepared to defend the hope that you have in you, your defense, your testimony. That's what you need to have. I think that goes very long with the chapter today, chapter 9.
Yeah, this is the LSB version. A little change up for me today.
Yeah.
But 3:15 says, but sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, and always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, yet with gentleness and fear.
The hope that is in you.
Yeah.
It doesn't say defend every single aspect of the Bible and defend every single aspect of the Christian faith. But if someone asks you, why do you believe in God? Why do you believe in Jesus? You need to be able to defend that and be able to say, hey, God changed me. I am not the same person as I was before. And I think it's exactly what happens.
That's actually interesting.
Chapter 9.
Though, if you take it that perspective and go down that road with it, your testimony is your defense.
Yeah. You can't refute that. You could try to refute.
You could refute it. You could say you're silly.
Sure, you could be silly, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a good.
You could be foolish.
Yeah, not a great argument because they're like, I don't think I'm silly. I don't think yeah. I was going to try to play devil's advocate, but you can't even. I feel like
you can't. It's just silly. Yeah. But I think that's a great change up though.
Yeah.
From this, and I personally don't know that I care to engage in much more arguments about faith.
Yep.
I believe what I believe. Yep. Here's what the Bible says. Yep. Let's move on.
If somebody says, okay, well, I don't think this verse, this thing, you're like, okay, that's fine. God changed me. And they're like, oh, well, okay, but how about this verse? Like, I am changed and God has showed me a better way to live and my life is better because of that. What can they say? They can't say anything about it. They're like, okay, you do.
Yeah, you're silly.
Awesome.
That's the comeback.
Yeah, that's
or, it's written by man. Okay, well, God used a man to change my life.
Yeah.
The argumentation isn't really worth it anymore. And we need those people out there. But I think as people who are ambassadors of Christ, sharing God's word with a pleasing aroma, these things that we've been talking about a lot with our battle plan group and groups that are meeting right now. I think that's it. Yep. I don't think there's a lot. We don't need the reading tactics and evidence that demands a verdict. Great. Yep. They're fun. And it's cool to know the history. And if you do end up in a conversation and you have this knowledge and information you can share, that's even better. Yep. But just to debate and argue for argument's sake, I don't know if I care to do so anymore.
Yeah. And I think that kind of relieves a lot of pressure from you as a person to say, I'm not going to have to learn every single thing in the Bible, which I think you should. I think you should be studying, but to relieve that pressure to share with somebody else, you just have to have your testimony and your interaction with Jesus. And
this wasn't a thing where it's like, okay, yeah, I have my testimony. I don't need to know. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is you don't need to necessarily engage in these formal debates and people wanting to just fight with you about certain things. It's like, no, the Bible says this. I read it. I understand it. I believe it. Here's why. That's it.
Yep.
That's the end of the argument.
I don't know if you wanted to just. I don't know if we want to read it verse by verse. I guess we could read some.
Yeah, we can.
I don't know if you want to
open your Bibles to John.
John chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
Yep.
It said he passed by. As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind? Jesus answered, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this was so that the works of God might be manifested in him. We must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. Interesting. So why was he blind from birth? Did someone sin so that he, this is kind of a thought process some people have, that like all bad things are the consequence of sin. That's not the truth. That's an abuse of power to make people fearful for their life, kind of. Sin in itself was the rebellion from God's creation. Everything that God made was perfect and eternal. Man screwed that up, and that therefore sin and death entered the world. Bible tells us this. Not making this up.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
But sin in itself is not the precursor to punishment.
Yep.
The cross has already fulfilled the punishment of sin and death.
Yep.
So what he's saying, which is even more fascinating, that this person was blind so that the works of God could be made manifest through him. Yeah. That he was an example that could be used for the power and glory of God to be shown to other people. So Jesus is taking this terrible thing that's befallen this person, and he's saying this is not actually a bad thing. This is a thing where God can be glorified in it. That changes your perspective on a lot of the bad things you go through in your life.
Yeah. I think we could spend a lot of time just on this verse alone. But I think it's to say it's not always things that happen to you are not always like the world is broken. We live in a broken, messed up, sinful, just bad the world that we live in. It's just the way it is. And it's not always the person sins who, I think if you are a person who is sinning and a person who is not following it, your life's going to be rougher. You're going to have more consequences to your actions. It's just the aspects of sin. Sin is like a mold, and the more you have, the more there's just like the more sickness and things that cling to you. It's not good anyway. But that's not the reason this guy was born blind. I think also this is a very specific time to this guy, because you're like, well, why is this thing happen? You can't point to this verse for every single thing that bad happens out in the world, because if you do, like that wasn't the purpose for this section. Like to say, like, well, why does this kid born with whatever thing that they had, and you're like, well, it was so God could show his light. But that not everything has the same exact reason why it happened. God has a reason for every single thing, and like bad things do happen in this world, but in all things, God can make them work for the glory and honor of Him. And so we don't always know what happens, and it's not everything doesn't happen because of like either sin or because God's showing His power. He can and He will and He does, but that not every one of them have that same exact reason. So you can't always point to this verse and say like everything that happens is so God can show His glory. It's like some things people sin and they just jack it up. And
I might actually push back on that though. I think that every life is here with the purpose of knowing God and to glorifying God. So in its essence, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it is in fact for the glory of God. Yes. And for His power to be made manifest through it. I was just
talking about like, is there
a miraculous sign with everyone?
Right. Yes,
no,
exactly. That's what I was saying.
But every person's life is valuable for the glory of God.
Yes.
And so even in that, the child who's born blind today is still there for the power and glory of God, and every life has value.
No doubt. And
every life, regardless of length of pain and struggle or whatever, it is valuable for the glory of God.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, this verse, Jesus says, this happened so the power of God would be seen in him. And so you can't point to every single, like, this person's born blind, so, like, power of Christ is going to be seen in him. I think it can and it does, but I was just saying you can't point to that, every one of them. I know that itself could be a whole podcast. I think we could probably make a whole pod out of that, of bad things happening. So, yeah.
Yeah, it keeps going. It says, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he said this, he spat on the ground, made clay of saliva, and rubbed the clay on the eyes, and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which is translated sent. So he went away and washed and came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who previously saw him as a beggar were saying, "Is not this the one who used to sit and beg?" So there's actually a couple things here that are fun or interesting.
Yeah.
One, obviously, he spit on the ground and rubbed that on somebody's eyes, which only God can get away with that. But it is the Sabbath.
Yep.
When he does this, he is making a new product, which is against the law on the Sabbath. Throughout the book of John, there is a side of Jesus that I've just kind of dubbed the antagonistic Jesus. He does things on the Sabbath that he could have done the next day or did the day before. He's God. He knows, he understands the time. He knows where he's at, when he's going to arrive. He could have arrived at a day before, could have arrived a day after. But he does this a couple of times. He does it at the pool of Bethesda as well. He raises the layman on the Sabbath. And this one almost doubles down, though. The blind man or the layman, he says, "Get up and take your mat and leave." But in this moment, he's literally working and performing a miracle. So he's actually doing two separate things here that would have riled up the people during that time period. Has nothing theological to do with anything other than I just find it very fascinating. John records him doing multiple things on the Sabbath that would have been against the law.
I also think it's kind of cool that God created us from dust, then he used the dirt and the dust to heal the man's eyes. I thought that was kind of cool as well. But I don't know if that that's what Jesus was talking about during that. But I just think he's like, I am also God because I can also create things out of dust and heal the things that I made out of dust with dust.
I mean, at the end of this chapter, he affirms his deity anyway.
I don't know if that's what he was trying to mean, but I think he's saying God created Adam and Eve out of dust. I can also use this dust and heal the dust that I made out of it. That's kind of cool.
Like finishing something.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. That's an interesting thought.
Yep.
You pick it up.
8. Okay. So verse 8 here. His neighbors and others who knew him. I'm reading NLT.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. His neighbors and others who knew him as a blind beggar asked each other, "Isn't this man who used to sit and beg?" Some said it was, and others said, "No, he just looks like him." But the beggar kept saying, "Yes, I am the one." They asked, "Who healed you? What happened? Just stop me whenever you're." He told them, "The man that they call Jesus made mud and spread it over my eyes, and he told me, 'Go to the pool of Siloam and wash yourself.' So I went and washed, and now I can see." "But where is he now?" they asked. "I don't know," he replied. Then they took the man who had been blind to the Pharisees, because it was on the Sabbath that Jesus had made the mud, and healed him.
All right. So another thing in John that we see, until it's his time, Jesus will do things, incredible things, and then he will retreat from public view. He doesn't push the issue. He's God. He understands timing. Even whenever they try to stone him, Jesus runs. It is not his time. Like, there are points throughout the story where he'll do incredible things. His signs, miracles, and wonders will be shown to multitudes of people. His, I'm going to use the word celebrity. That's not what I mean, though. I don't mean he's looking for celebrity, but his popularity, that's probably a better word. Popularity is growing amongst the people. More people are
His influence.
Or his influence is growing. That's a better one. But he himself is not the center. And in fact, John records a ton where he says, "It's not by me, but by my Father who sent me that these things can be done." Multiple times throughout the book of John, he's always giving the glory back to the Father, taking the focus off of him. He's doing these things, and we wouldn't be able to handle it. If we could do these things, we'd be like, "Yeah, that's me. I did that." Yep. And Jesus is like, no. I mean, he is, but at the same time, he's saying, it's the Father who sent me, who is doing these things.
Yeah. And I always kind of take myself back when I'm reading the story of coming in contact with Jesus and the man was healed. And that kind of gives us the same as our testimony, is like, I came in contact with Jesus and I'm changed. And people are going to be curious about that. It's exactly how like the Pharisees are to them. People are going to ask you, what is different about you? Why are you different? I know you were running around doing crazy stuff before. Why are you different now? And I think it's the same thing that the Pharisees are asking this guy. We saw you blind. We know you sat there every day and you begged. You were out there me, you, we were out there drinking and partying and doing all these things. Why are you different than the way you are? So people are going to be curious about it just because of your life change. It's going to cause people to ask questions.
Yeah. Well, let's continue on a little bit more. So the Pharisees also were asking again how he received his sight. And he said to them, he applied clay to my eyes, and I washed, and I see. So then the Pharisees were saying, this man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. But others were saying, how can a sinful man do such signs? And there is a division among them. Therefore, they said to the blind man again, what do you say about him, since he opened your eyes? And he said, he is a prophet. So clearly, this is what I was talking about, that antagonistic piece. Like, he doesn't know God but Jesus has got this point where it's like, we would do good for man, period, And so we have this moment, the Pharisees are frustrated. He's, jabbed at the religious leaders yet again here. And so we find this place. Now, I do think it's interesting that he says he's a prophet, but,
I think that goes back to what we're saying. Like, he doesn't know everything about the Bible. He doesn't know anything about Jesus. He just says, I don't know, my life has changed. He must, I don't know. I got nothing. The only thing I know is I was blind and now I see. It's like, I have the truth now. I know this man who can heal people. Like, that's all I have. I have nothing else. I've never read the Bible. I don't know anything about anything, but I can see it. He's like, he must be a prophet. I got nothing. I think that just kind of goes to exactly what we were talking about today.
You pick it up, 18.
The Jewish leaders still refused to believe the man who had been born blind and now could see. So they called in his parents. They asked him, is this your son? Was he born blind? If so, how can he see? His parents replied, we know this is our son, and we know that he was born blind, but we don't know how he can see or who healed him. Ask him. He's old enough to speak for himself. His parents said this because they were afraid the Jewish leaders who had announced that anyone saying that Jesus was Messiah would be expelled from the synagogue. That is why they said, he is old enough, ask him.
So, when I read this, there's a TV show on Prime. It's called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's about a female comedian. It's a raunchy show, so I'm not advocating to watch it. But there's a couple of times in the show where the family, they are Jewish, and it's Passover, and they're gonna break fast at their home, and so they're like they lobby for the rabbi to come break fast at their house, like it's a sign of popularity, celebrity, like that. Oh, the rabbi's breaking fast at the Wiseman's in the show, the Wiseman house. This is what I think of, or there's also a point where they're like very proud of their seats in temple because they're like close proximity to the front and in the middle where everybody can see them. And when I read this, I think of that being transposed into the ancient world where we have this family. It's like, oh no, we don't want to mess with the rabbi. Like, we want him to like us. We want him to see us and not think ill of us. And so we don't want to do anything to upset him. Our son's already done that. I'm going to push him out on a limb by himself. He's old enough to answer for himself. You ask him. We are good, Rabbi. Like, you can trust us. You can come to our house for breakfast. Give us the seats in the temple. Like, I see like this ancient version of this modern narrative kind of playing out whenever I read through that section, which I find interesting.
Yeah, they didn't want to be expelled from synagogues. So they're like, I don't know, ask him. He's different. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, he lost his mind. What's going on with that?
What's happening with this dude? Which, I don't know. Like you said, it does. Jesus said, I will divide you from your family. There is going to be people who accept you and people in your family who don't. And so I think that's another, I don't know.
Which we talked about earlier, where it said they were divided.
Yes.
There was division among them. Is what mine says.
Jesus will cause that to happen.
Yeah. It keeps going. It says, therefore, a second time they called the man who had been blind and said to him, give glory to God. We know this man is a sinner. He then answered, whether he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I do know, though, is I was blind and now I see. He's like, I don't really care.
I got nothing. I don't
really care. But that's an interesting. He's like, he might have been a demon, but I can see. So how about them apples?
He's like, I don't know if he's a sinner. He might be, but I can see now.
Yeah, and I haven't seen ever. So how about that? I see the color purple and red and blue. So they said to him, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you not listen again? Do you want to become his disciples too? And they reviled him and said, you are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he is from. The man answered and said to them, well, here is a marvelous thing that you do not know where he is from. And he opened my eyes. Yeah. He's like, I don't care.
Yeah, so this is like one of my favorite verses in the Bible, verse 30. I like to read it in the NLT. I think it sounds really cool the way he says it. His reply is that we know that God spoke to Moses, but we don't know where this man comes from. And his reply is like the best comeback for your hope, for your defense of the hope that you have in you. He's like, well, that's very strange. The man replied, he healed my eyes, and yet you don't know where he comes from. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but he is ready to hear those who worship him and do his will. He's like, even though I might not believe every single thing that's happened, I don't know all the facts, I don't know everything. You know that people don't change on their own. You know that. You know I can't just automatically heal my eyes. That had to have come from God. So he's just like, in his brain, he can't get wrapped around how they don't also know that Jesus is God. He can't figure that out. He's like, he healed me. He's the only person who could do that. God is the only person who can do that. He's just like, I don't get it. And I've been there like many a times, guys, in my own life. I'm like, Jesus changed me. I know people out there, it's very, very hard for someone to change. Almost impossible for someone to change. But Jesus can do it like that. Mm. And so I just think his devil reply is so cool. Why? That's very strange. He's just like, what? You don't get it? You don't understand? Okay.
I love how he also like escalates, because like these are still the Pharisees. These are still the religious leaders of the people. And he's like, I've already told y'all once. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it again. Like
yes, you want to follow him too? Okay, I got you. I know him. He's right down the street. We'll go talk to him.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Let's just finish this section. We won't get into the last section, but
31, I think.
Yep. It said, we know that God does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is God-fearing and does his will, he listens to him. Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered and said to him, you were born entirely in sin, and you are teaching us. So they put him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that it's such a multifaceted section of scripture, but I think at its core, your point of change comes from God is true, and the man has nothing but his testimony. He has nothing except for the miracle that just happened to stand on in front of those who know everything. According to their law and their understanding, they have everything. And this man doesn't stand there like, well, I don't know how it connects to the law of Moses. Like, he's not scared. He's just I don't know. I couldn't see you yesterday. I heard your voice, but now I see you. So what's up?
That's crazy. Yeah.
And that's just crazy.
Yep. Yeah. It's just, to your point, you don't have to have everything figured out. Just know your testimony, know that God changed you, and that's all you need. That's all this guy need. And I think at the end, right there at the end, you can, have some, I don't know if solace is the word, but know that some people aren't going to believe you, even if they can see you're changed. Some people out there are still not going to believe. And like, it is brutal and it's heartbreaking for them. And like, you would hope that maybe one day they would turn a leaf and have a softened heart and know that Jesus is Lord. But there is going to be some people who see your testimony and they hate you for it. They don't like you for it. They don't like that you are changed and you are different than the way you used to live, even though it's like better for you in every aspect of your life. This guy could not see, couldn't even work. He couldn't do anything. He just sat there and begged. His life was better, and they were still mad at him for that. They were still mad at Jesus for that. And so it just goes to show you that people are, at the end of this, people are still going to be upset with you, even if you're living the better life. But you just gotta keep telling people your testimony and keep showing up every day and being the changed person that you're supposed to be.
One of, I think, the most underrated things about your testimony is the people who knew you before and the people who know you now. The testimony is incredible. We hear these testimonies that people give of the change they had in their life, how God worked and moved in their life, and that's incredible. I'm not discounting that, but the people who see the change may have an exponential reaction, and it may have an exponential impact because they can see the visible difference, the way you talk, carry yourself, do, act. They see the fullness of it because they knew you before and they know you now. And that's scary because they knew you before.
Yeah. They know a lot of your past stuff.
They knew you before, but at the same time, that's part of what makes it so valuable that they know you now.
No doubt.
So, well, hey, short, sweet, to the point. We even did a whole chapter of the Bible pretty much.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
We missed like 10 verses, I think, at the end.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But hey, this is the Point Man Podcast. Our podcast is designed to help men connect to God's word and to be the men that God desires for them to be. We are part of Point Man, a ministry of that church here in Central Arkansas. And if you are in Central Arkansas, we want you to be a part of that as well. We have live semesters where we meet for 4 weeks at a time. We have Bible studies and classes and all sorts of things that you can get involved with. So don't let this moment pass you by. Online's great, but it never replaces the value of being together. We had a group of about 8 guys this morning sitting in a circle going through God's word. 5:30 in the morning, these boys getting up and getting after it. And we had incredible conversations there. And it's a place where you can be open and honest about who you are, where you're at, the struggles you're dealing with. So make sure that you get involved with Point Man and at that church. We would love to have you. But until next time, I'm Zach.
I'm Luke.
Peace out.